Hey, what's up, guys? Alright, so we got another amazing chapter of Black Clover out this week. It's full of comedy. I loved every second of it. And I'm sure all you shippers out there actually were really happy to see that a majority of the chapter focused on the relationship between Yami and Charlotte, kind of putting a step forward towards that possibly being an actual thing. But yeah, let's jump right into what happened in the chapter. Alright, so we start off the chapter. It picks up pretty much where the last one left off. We see Charlotte sitting on top of a roof, basically like extremely embarrassed by the fact that she had run away from Yami screaming at the top of her lungs the way she did in the previous chapter. And she's kind of just sitting there reflecting on it. She's thinking that maybe Yami thinks she's some kind of like crazy person now. And we actually get to find out a little bit more about Charlotte. Like, this chapter does a great job of doing some character building for Charlotte. And we get a little reveal from her, like a revelation that she has, is that the reason why she is not up until this point been able to be open and honest with Yami about her feelings is simply because of the fact that she has too much pride. Okay, so there's two parts in this chapter where we actually get to see more about Charlotte's backstory and her character. This is the first part, and the second part is near the end of the chapter. But in this first part, we actually get her to recount the fact that she actually, in order to break her own curse, she decided to become strong. She, in her pursuit of strength to break the curse, she started to distrust men more and more. And even though she had gained all the strength that she had, she became a magic knight, she built herself up to being a captain, she still was not able to break the curse herself, and Yami had to come in and rescue her. And in that moment, when he did rescue her, she ended up falling head over heels in love with him. But because she had so much pride in herself and her own strength and desired to break the curse herself, she could not fully accept the fact that Yami was the one who rescued her. And that's the reason why she was never able to be honest with him about her feelings. And that's also the reason why she built her Magic Knight squad with nothing but women members, because she could not accept the fact that a man had saved her life, despite the fact that she had built herself up to be strong enough to do it herself, and she had gained that distrust in men. And the moment she realizes that it's her own pride that's stopping her from being able to accept fully her feelings for Yami, she immediately does something huge, which is she gathers all the members of the Blue Roses at the headquarters, and she reveals to all of them that she's in love with Yami. Now, this is a great moment for two reasons. Firstly, because obviously the huge amount of character growth this shows for Charlotte. Her character's finally fully accepting the fact that she's in love with Yami. She's being open about it. Even though she still hasn't told him exactly herself, she is now being at least open with the people who are closest to her about her feelings. So that's, is a huge character growth for her. And second, this is an amazing comedic moment because, alright, Charlotte fully expects, since she built her entire squad around the idea that, or the ideal of fuck men. Like, get men, we don't need men. She built her entire squad around that, gathered nothing but women who she believed had that same kind of ideal. She fully expects that once she reveals that she's in love with a man, that her squad members will reject that idea and force her to step down as captain. She even starts off her speech before she reveals that she's in love with Yami by saying that I fully expect and accept that you guys will want me to step down from being captain, and I'm okay with that. But what we end up finding out, and this is a huge comedic moment, is that her squad members, outside of her and Soul, they didn't really believe in that whole fuck men mentality. In fact, we end up finding out that members of her squad had secret boyfriends that they've been hiding from her. We find out that some people in her squad were actually shipping her and Yami this entire time. And I think one and two of them actually mentioned that they actually knew about her feelings this entire time and actually been waiting for her to reveal them herself. But it's a completely different reaction than Soul and Charlotte were expecting from their squad members, and the face that they had when they reacted to this was just, it was hilarious. It's kind of like watching One Piece or looking at One Piece when everyone reacts like comedically to something that surprises them and they get that like weird looking face. That's exactly what happens in this chapter with Soul and Charlotte. But anyway, speaking of their squad members real quick, is this the first time we've ever seen anyone else from the Blue Roses besides Soul and Charlotte? Because looking at the chapter, when Charlotte's given that like whole reveal about her being in love with Yami, we see those two characters who are standing next to Soul, and clearly Tabata put more time and effort into drawing and designing them than he did any of the other members of the Blue Roses, because the rest of the background ones just look like generic characters, while they look like they have some kind of like effort placed into them. But I don't remember ever seeing them before in the series. And as far as I can remember, Soul and Charlotte were the only two members of the Blue Roses that we've ever been introduced to. Now, I could be wrong, and if I am, let me know in the comment section. But like I said, I don't remember ever seeing anyone else from the Blue Roses before this moment. But anyway, once Charlotte ends up getting a different reaction from her squad members than she initially thought she would, we see them all kind of rush her. They're basically telling her that she has to go get on some makeup, she has to go dress up, so that she can actually ask Yami out on a date officially now that she's being open about her feelings. And just as they're doing all this, we see Tabata prove to us again that Yami is actually the main character he wants to write about, even though the main character of the series is Asta. Because he gives Yami a major character trope that every main character has in every rom-com out there. And that is basically he makes Yami dense as fuck. So the three of them show up, Yami, Asta, and Nero. And Yami's basically like, hey, you kind of ran off on me when I had some questions I wanted to ask you. And Charlotte is just completely, like, she's completely nervous. She's embarrassed as hell. She's nervous about the situation because even though she's now fully being honest with her feelings, she's not mentally prepared just yet to actually reveal them to Yami. So she's completely nervous about the situation, the fact that he just showed up in this moment at this time. Like, it's just convenient timing, and he just happened to not hear any of it. And before she even gets to mention anything that's going on, before she even gets to speak up at all, Yami stops her and she's like, hey, listen, I get it. You hate me. I understand. I'm okay with that. I just have a few questions I have to ask you, and then we'll be out of your hair. And this actually ends up leading to a very comedic moment where we actually get 2 full pages of Asta basically explaining to Yami what the fuck a tsundere is. Because he basically just spends this entire time telling or comparing Charlotte to Noelle and saying that the both of them, the more they trust someone, the more embarrassed they are about it. And because of that, they end up not being able to be honest with themselves and reacting in like certain ways and pretending like they actually hate that person instead when they actually do like them or have some kind of trust for them. It's literally, Asta literally sits there and explains to Yami what a tsundere is. And he kind of just looks at Charlotte and says, man, if only the two of you could be honest about your feelings. And just pats her on the back and tells her to, cheer up. Which, of course, leads to Soul choking the shit out of him, but still. But anyway, Asta actually ends up giving Charlotte a little bit of courage, and she actually steps up and asks Yami kinda out on a date. I mean, it's more like she says that, hey, you want to talk about something? Let's talk about it over dinner. But it is the two of them alone at their table. They're at a restaurant. It looks like it might be at night. And it basically kind of feels like a date. But it ends up not being one because of the fact that she ends up finding out, and she's completely embarrassed when she does find out about this because of the fact that she ran off on him. But she ends up finding out that Yami actually just wanted to talk to her about forbidden magic because he thought, like I said in my last review, that maybe the curse that she had been under has something to do with it. So yeah, she's a little bit depressed when she finds out that this is what he wanted to talk about. But we finally get to the actual real situation of the real topic of the chapter. Now, this is the second part of the chapter where Charlotte actually goes over more of her curse and her backstory. And initially I had thought that maybe the curse that she had been under this entire time was actually the result of one of her family members, like one of her parents or one of her ancestors, using forbidden magic and then them suffering the effects of WEG. If you guys don't know what WEG is, it's actually basically the side effects that you suffer from when you use forbidden magic. Kind of like how Nero, once she used forbidden magic, she gained her horns and actually got trapped inside the body of a bird. Something like that. I thought that maybe the curse that she had suffered under was actually a result of WEG. But we ended up finding out that no, unlike what I initially thought, it actually was just a curse that was placed on her by someone else who was using forbidden magic. So she has some knowledge of it because of that, but she isn't that knowledgeable of it. But what she does end up sharing with Yami is that she does have knowledge of the fact that someone in his squad, a member of the Black Bulls, is actually suffering worse from a curse placed by forbidden magic than she was. And then immediately after she reveals that, we cut over to, I'm guessing, the capital, where we see Dora female characters. Surprisingly enough, she's actually awake for once. We see her using her magic to seemingly fix broken buildings. And while she's doing that, she turns around and she sees Noelle sitting there. And she says, hey, Noelle, what were you sent by one of your brothers in order to come see me? And she says, yeah, I'm here to talk to you about the relationship between demons and my mom. And that's where the chapter ends. Now, after I got done reading the chapter, I saw a lot of people commenting on the fact that maybe the reason why Noelle wasn't able to control her mana for majority of her life was because of the fact that she was actually suffering from the effects of a curse placed on her by someone using forbidden magic. And that actually maybe the reason why her mom died giving birth to her was because the curse was actually placed on her mom. And once her mom died, the effects were actually just passed down to Noelle instead. But I'm not sure how much I actually agree with that because of the fact that seemingly, as far as we can tell from what we've seen of Noelle throughout the series, her lack of mana control seemingly came from her lack of self-confidence. And the more self-confidence she ended up gaining as a result of, being encouraged by the members of Black Bulls, by Asta, and then even in the last arc by Nozel, she gained more and more mana control, to the point where she now has an ability, her Valkyrie armor, which requires the same amount of mana control that seemingly her mom had when she was alive and when she was active as a Magic Knight. So, in my opinion, if her gaining more and more self-confidence resulted in her gaining more and more control of her mana, I don't see how that could actually work with a curse. Now, I could be wrong. There could be plenty of different ways to break a curse when it's placed on you. Because as we see when it comes to Charlotte, her curse was actually broken by the fact that the elf inside of her, or the elf that she shared her body with for a little bit during the last arc, just the fact that that elf had more mana than her, managed to break the curse. So it could just be that, gaining self-confidence for Noelle was the key to breaking her own curse. But at the same time, I'm still thinking that maybe Noelle actually isn't the person that Charlotte was talking about. This is kind of basically just a red herring that Tabata's putting us through. In fact, if I'm being honest, I think that the person that Charlotte is actually mentioning is most likely Henry. Because if you think about it, Henry, his sickness or his illness that he's suffering from, sounds more and more like a curse than it does an actual disease. So yeah, I'm thinking that maybe it's actually Henry that Charlotte was talking about. But at the same time, I don't know because of the fact that I don't know if Charlotte even knows Henry exists. Because we know that members of the Black Bulls weren't even aware of him. So if they weren't even aware of him, I doubt anyone outside of Black Bulls, save for maybe Julius, had any knowledge of him. But I don't know, it could be Henry. It could be Henry that she's talking about, or actually could end up being Noelle. Maybe Noelle actually was the one who was placed under a curse, and that's the reason why she has so little mana control. I don't know. We'll just have to wait till the next chapter or the next time we actually visit this topic to find out. But that's it for the video, guys. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, drop me a like, subscribe to the channel. I would greatly appreciate it. Comment down below your thoughts and theories, and I'll catch you guys next week. Peace.